The conquest of space is worth the risk of life. Our God-given curiosity will force us to go there ourselves because, in the final analysis, only man can fully evaluate the moon in terms understandable to other men.
The Interplanetary Podcast. The exploration of space for the benefit of all mankind. Your hosts here in London, Matthew Russell and Jamie Franklin.
Oh, yeah, baby, Gus.
The double G. Gus Grissom.
Gus Grissom, who unfortunately did indeed give his life 52 years ago this week in the Apollo 1 fire.
27th of January 1957. Rest in peace, Gus. What a quote.
Yeah, the only fatalities of the Apollo mission.
Who was the guy in Batman? And don't say Batman.
What, the bloke who played Batman?
That name reminds me of some character from Batman.
I don't know.
I'll look into it. I'll tell you what that's a hell of a cliffhanger to say at the end of the show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Keep listening to find out the name.
You've really got me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
On this day, 25th of January, what would you think if I'd said the year 1736?
I'd get all excited because it's my favourite, one of my favourites. He's not one of my favourites. I've just read that he had biff with Laplace.
Laplace, oh God, was there some rivalry here?
Yeah, I think there was. Joseph Louis Lagrange.
You absolutely love Lagrange, don't you?
I do, Lagrange. His other name that he went by is Giuseppe Luigi Lagrange.
Oh, he went from French to Italian then?
He was Italian and moved to France. So he's an Italian-French mathematician stroke astronomer. Of course, we all know him because of Lagrange points, but he did beaucoup de maths.
Oh, yeah, he did.
I wanted to open up with a Lagrange quote, but instead I found a quote about Lagrange by Augustus de Morgan, which I thought was really funny because I've done this very thing in a lecture once.
Oh, you did?
Ready?
Here we go.
Lagrange, in one of the later years of his life, imagined that he had overcome the difficulty of the parallel axiom. He went so far as to write a paper, which he took with him to the institute, and began to read it. But in the first paragraph, something struck him that he had not observed. He muttered, "Il faut que j'y songe encore," and put the paper back in his pocket. Which, of course, means I must think again about it. So he obviously, halfway through reading the first paragraph, thought, oh, no, I've got all this wrong.
It's kind of like our podcast.
Yeah.
We often say that, just not in French.
Yeah.
It's very,
I'm very sorry to French listeners who didn't like my way I kind of did it.
Yeah, definitely said something else.
Maybe Lagrange had a bit of an Italian accent when he spoke in French too, so who knows?
You reckon?
Do you know what else happened on this day, January the 25th? 1995, what would you reckon?
Well, it made me think of the Norwegian rocket incident.
Oosh!
Russia almost launches a nuclear attack after it mistakes Black Brant 12, a Norwegian research rocket, for a US Trident missile. That's a hell of a mistake.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Ooh.
Just goes to show the dangers of rocketry.
It's a scary one, that.
So what did you do that I didn't bother doing this week?
I set my alarm to 4:45. I got up and I looked at the beautiful and unbelievable clear night sky for UK of the super blood wolf moon.
Ah.
It was absolutely glorious. And I didn't think, because every time this happens, I always wake up early or I stay up late and it's too bloody cloudy. Oh, clouds. Thanks, UK.
Yeah,
But it was beautifully clear day and I was thinking, maybe, just maybe, this is my time. And it was. It was lovely.
But I'd been up very, very late and had to get up and drive 5 hours. So I decided not to do that because I
texted you, didn't I? And I said, are you going to check it? And what did you reply to me?
I said it's going to be rubbish, I think I said.
You said, nah. Like you said, nah, it's going to be shit. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Because, Matt knows loads more than me. But I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to go with my instincts on this one. And I'm glad I did.
Can you believe this? That one of the genius things that happened was that telescopes around the world picked up the moon being hit by a meteorite.
No way, I didn't know this.
During that eclipse. there's quite a few little videos and pictures on the web are starting to appear now. But yeah, how about that?
I need to check that out. That's amazing. That's what happens when you've got no atmosphere, Matt.
Yeah, so it made me think, how many times does the moon get hit like that? I was thinking, is that a massive coincidence? I don't think it's that big a coincidence in the end, because it gets hit about every 3 days or so with objects over 10 meters across. Of course, it gets hit all the time by tiny objects, but yeah, 10 meters across, it's being hit every 3 days.
Thank goodness.
That's crazy, isn't it?
We have an atmosphere that doesn't allow us to get hit, because we would get hit so much.
Tons and tons of stuff rains down on Earth every year. So,
Matt, what's your favourite
incredible.
song with rains down in the lyrics?
The Who, I think. Rain down on me.
What about
Yeah,
Phil
that one.
Collins? Oh, yeah, I wish it would rain down on me.
I don't know.
So, tweet in with your favourite lyrics.
Yeah, Peter Gabriel, actually.
Peter Gabriel. Or what about Slayer, Rains in Blood? That's a bit different, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Rain in Blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rain
Okay.
on Blood Moon.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
they could, maybe we could write to them and they could sort of rejig the lyrics a little
Super
bit.
Slayer Wolf Blood Moon tour. Yes. Now let's stick with the moon, Matt.
ESA seem to have gone moon mad this week.
Yeah.
A lot of their posts have been about the moon. And there was one big press release that came through that the Ariane Group has signed a contract with ESA to examine the possibility of going to the moon before 2025.
Oh,
and
nice.
you will love this,
Here we
because
go.
you love this idea, with the aim of mining regolith from which it is possible to extract water and oxygen, thus enabling an independent human presence on the moon, producing the fuel needed for more
Yes!
distant exploratory
in.
missions.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've only been speaking about this for 3 years in the hope that it's going to happen, and it's
Well, yeah,
happening. Yes.
Here we go. So yeah, the
Get
Ariane
in.
6, the Ariane 6 is the 4 booster version of the Ariane 6 would enable Europe to be able to do this, because it can carry enough, oomph and enough payload up to lunar orbit to be able to kind of complete this mission.
Love that.
Yeah.
Take that, China.
Yes.
Your move.
Ariane Group will be one of the partners in La Lune de Voyage, Réal au Voyage Imaginaire.
It's getting better.
Which means, yeah, thanks. The moon, a journey from the real to the imaginary, which seems like a bit of a lift from the British Interplanetary Society motto.
It does, doesn't it? I think there's some royalties to be paid there.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exhibition at the Grand Palais in Paris. So I quite fancy going to see that.
I think we should.
Yeah, that's going to be running from the 3rd of April to the 22nd of July.
Well, I can see a spring trip coming on. Yeah.
This kind of trip is going to be a collaboration between Ariane Group, Ariane Space, a German startup company called PT Scientists, which are going to provide the lunar lander, a Belgian SME called Space Application Services, which will provide the ground control facilities, communications, and service operations.
Nice.
100% European innovative consortium. Yeah.
That's what we want, isn't it? More of that, please.
Please, there are, of course, other Euro-lunar projects on the go, like, for example, the European Service Module as part of the Orion spacecraft, NASA's Orion spacecraft. So that's pretty cool. They're also working with Roscosmos on Lunar Research, which apparently is to take the Russians are going to carry some European tech to the moon that will drill into the surface and
Nice.
analyse the lunar terrain. Again, to sort of see if you can process that into drinkable water or breathable oxygen for the moon. And of course, there's the Heracles mission, which could take off in 2028.
Would you like a quote from the CEO of Ariane Group?
Yeah, you go on then. Yep.
This first contract, symbolically announced on the day of the lunar eclipse, is a milestone for Ariane Group, which has long time been working on technological proposals for space logistics servicing, explained Andre Roussel.
No relation.
No relation.
Well, he might be. A Roussel, I believe, is the French version of Russell.
It is also an opportunity to recall the ability of Ariane 64 to carry out moon missions for its institutional customers, with a payload capacity of up to 8.5 metric tons, In this year, marking the 50th anniversary of man's first steps on the moon, Ariane Group will thus support all current and future European projects in line with its mission to guarantee independent, sovereign access to space for Europe.
Wow.
Beautiful.
You did actually say during that piece, which I don't think he would have done, you said Ariane 64, where of course you meant Ariane 64.
Definitely.
I've got a bit of a bone to pick with Issa, though.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't start with that sentence.
Like I said, they've been posting a lot about moon stuff, and they posted a very good educational kind of page on their website called Teach with the Moon, which has got lots of fun facts and stuff. One of the facts is, why does the moon look bigger at times? ? And the answer that they have put is due to its elliptical orbit. But I'm going to say I don't think that that's true. I think you really cannot perceive, like with your eye, whether the moon has got bigger or smaller due to its elliptical orbit. That's why that's why I don't, when people go on and on about the supermoon and all that, it really doesn't look any bigger when it's closer or further away.
The photos that you see, sometimes I question the Photoshop.
Well, no, it's not about Photoshop. That's about using a very, very long focal length.
No, I just mean against a city, where it looks absolutely huge. It's like,
Well, but that's the point. If you're a long way away from the city as well, and you're using a huge focal point, that's exactly the effect you get.
Right.
So if you've got a 400 millimeter lens on your camera, then it will kind of give you that effect. You've just got to sort of frame it up right. What people do all the time.
How much bigger in its peak elliptical orbit, when it's closest to Earth, how much bigger is the moon from the furthest away to us? Do we know?
I don't know.
This is what I'd like to know.
But the real thing that makes the moon look bigger,
wish I was,
which is going to be my space word of the week.
Here we go.
Is the moon illusion.
Ooh. This sounds like the kind of thriller that I would love to see Matt Russell be the protagonist in.
The moon illusion is one of my favourite things about space, because anyone this week could go outside and witness the moon illusion for themselves. So the moon illusion is an optical illusion which means the moon appears much larger when it's near the horizon than when it does when it's higher up in the sky. You would swear that it was much bigger when it's near the horizon than when it's right up in the sky. But if you got like a penny and completely obscured it, it would be the same size. The penny held at the same distance would obscure both. So there's something going on. And this has caused arguments for centuries about what is going on, and no one has agreed exactly what it is. There was even a 1989 book called The Moon Illusion, which was 24 chapters of various different researches.
Well, I've got an idea.
Reaching different conclusions, yeah.
Isn't it because when it's on the backdrop of Earth, so if you're looking out over some hills and then you see the moon, disappearing, but then so it looks big then compared to the little trees that are its backdrop. But then when you look up in the sky is obviously huge. So it doesn't look as big. Could it be something as simple as that? That
is regarded as the kind of prime hypothesis. So that's I think that's known as the apparent distance hypothesis.
No, it's the Franklin hypothesis.
Yes. So intervening bodies between the object and the observer,
right,
kind of give the moon a scale, but there's no intervening objects between the Earth and the moon when it's high, so the perceived distance is too short, so the moon appears smaller than on the horizon. But the problem with that is it's scientifically tautological. In other words, it explains perception as consequences of perception. So in some ways, it's a circular argument. So the moon looks further away because it looks larger is a ridiculous thing to say. So, and most people, 90%, say the horizon moon looks both larger and closer than the zenith moon. So the apparent distant hypothesis clearly isn't the full story here. So very early ones were things like the atmospheric refraction hypothesis, which is very dubious and hasn't been taken seriously since the 17th century, that basically says that the atmosphere kind of refracts the moon and makes it look bigger. That's kind of been debunked. You've got the relative size hypothesis. So the perceived size of an object depends not only on its retinal size, but also on the size of the objects in its immediate visual environment.
Yes.
So which for me, I think is better than the apparent distant hypothesis. And this is known as the Ebbinghaus illusion.
Ooh.
So you can, if you look up Ebbinghaus illusion, you can see how that would work. And there's another really good one, which is a great one to do, which is if you look through your legs when the moon's on the horizon, the moon illusion goes. So if you look upside down and look through your legs, the moon illusion goes.
I have done that before.
Yeah. So, but that might be just because the retina is the image is inverted on the retina, and you can actually do a similar sort of effect by raising your eyes or tilting your head when you're in an upright posture. And it reduces only very, very slightly the illusion. But what I will say is this: the other day, I mean, I've been thinking about it all week, is a really good way to see the moon illusion. I did it this week. So the day after the Wolf Moon, we almost had it. Obviously, we still had a very full moon in the sky. And on the morning, I was walking down into Guildford, and I was very, very high up on a hill. And it was a really, really clear morning, and the moon was massive in the sky, and it was right over Guildford Cathedral. It was absolutely huge over Guildford Cathedral. And I picked up my smartphone because I hadn't taken my camera to work. It was really annoying because I would have been able to, if I've got a big focal length on my camera, I would have done a much better job. But I picked up my smartphone, and the minute you look at the image in your smartphone screen without even taking a picture, the moon suddenly becomes tiny. You're looking at the screen and you can see that the moon is tiny, but then you look back up and the moon looks massive again.
Great,
so
yeah.
I actually think it's got more to do with the fact that it's the moon that somehow in your brain is actually creating the image of the moon, and it's not actually what you're perceiving. That somehow your perception is much more to do with the image that your brain is creating rather than the one that you're seeing through your visual cortex. And for me, none of those hypotheses that we're talking about fully explains how much tinier it looks in the screen of your mobile phone.
That is really interesting, actually. It's a little bit like when I went to Japan for the first time. Still the best day of my life when I entered a lift with 7 other grown men, adult men, and I was the tallest. So
yeah, that's cool.
At 5'7.5", I was so happy. But
is that half in your Cuban heels?
Look, don't mock my Cuban heels. They've got me in some good situations.
God, presumably, I'd be a freak in Japan then.
Well, you're just the same as here.
So,
we should talk about SpaceX.
We should talk about SpaceX, shouldn't we?
It's been an up and down week. So the Starship, SpaceX's Starship Hopper, so the test was severely damaged by strong winds down in South Texas at the launch facility. And Musk said, "I just heard 50-mile-per-hour winds broke the mooring blocks late last night, and fairing was blown over. Will take a few weeks to repair." So, not been a great week, but there we go.
Yeah. Well, it only took a few weeks. It only took a few weeks to build. So you hope it would only take a few. That's a bummer, though, isn't it?
It is a bummer. Meanwhile, on the other hand,
Bezos is having way more luck.
Oh, Bezza.
Yeah. So this week we had the 10th flight of the New Shepard. And it was a total success.
Kaboom.
I think they're very much online for this late 2019 commercial launch. And they'll actually start their actual mission. Yeah.
And talking of lines, Matt, it achieved 66 miles, a couple over the Kármán line.
Exactly.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Not such good luck for Mr. Eric Bowe.
Oh, what's happened?
Well, he's been replaced on the Starliner test flight by another astronaut, ISS astronaut, Edward Mike Fink.
Oh.
He's been stood down due to a medical issue. It's quite a rare thing, this, but not without precedent. Of course, Ken Mattingly was stood down because he was exposed to German measles just before the Apollo 13 flight, so lost his place on that. However, Bo's going to have a straight swap, so he'll replace Fink as the assistant to the chief for commercial crew in the astronaut office at NASA's Johnson Space Center.
I can't imagine the
disappointment.
The disappointment and frustration is one thing, but could you imagine knowing the person who gave you measles that literally took your only chance of going into space and then you never went? Imagine how you would feel about them, knowing that, yes, it was an accident and they would never have meant it, but you would not... Oh,
Even worse, Ken Mattingly didn't even get German measles. He was just exposed to it and they couldn't take the risk.
Oh.
But he never actually got it in the end.
Oh, God, I feel sick. I actually feel sick for him.
Well, you'd imagine he would have been feeling really sick until the Apollo 13 accident happened, and then in the back of his head he must have been going,
"Oh my God,
this maybe I've been saved a fate worse than death." And then when it all went right, he must have thought, that was my chance to be a hero.
Well, I'm feeling for you, Eric. That is that's a tough cookie to swallow, but hopefully you will get to go up at some point soon.
One of my bare favourite missions.
Oh, yeah.
The one that I picked as my favourite for 2019, the Israeli Bereshit moonlander, is on its way to Cape Canaveral for a mid-February launch.
Swanning down the what's it called? The red carpet.
Yeah. Space IL's privately developed moonlander, Bereshit, to launch aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 as one of at least 3 other payloads. And then it will spend a couple of months travelling to the moon and land in the Sea of Serenity, the Mare Serenitatis.
Beautiful.
Serenitatis, a lunar mare located to the east of the Mare Imbrium. And it will land in April.
I'm looking forward to it, for one.
Absolutely. Jamie?
Yeah?
A few months ago, I interviewed a chap called Bernard Chemoul.
Another Frenchman.
And he currently is the Inspector General of CNES.
Oh, lovely.
A European space legend, Bernard Chemoul. He is currently Inspector General of CNES, but he was the program manager of Ariane 5 and Vega. He was the Deputy Director of the Guiana Space Centre. He was the Director of the Guiana Space Centre. And he's been the European Space Agency Head of Infrastructure Project in the Directorate of Space Transportation.
Sounds like he's a heavyweight.
He is. Do you want to listen to this interview?
Do I?
Écoutez.
The Interplanetary Podcast, putting the ace back into space.
I'm joined by Bernard Chemoul, who is the Inspector General at CNES. Hello, Bernard, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine.
Thanks very much for taking our call. What I really want to do is to listen to your very long and varied career as part of European space. So if you would just like to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started and some of the jobs that you got into.
Yeah, I've started in the 1982 in the CNES, in the French Space Agency. I've had this occupation for, let's say, 10 years, about 10 years. And then I've managed the team of engineers in mechanical studies and aerodynamical studies. And then I've been technical director for launcher development and exploitation, still in the CNES, Directorate of Launchers. During this time, I have participated to the development of Ariane 4, Ariane 5 project, and I have been involved in the project called Hermes, which was a project of space plane, like a shuttle, a European shuttle. But this project had been stopped in the soon of the 90s. After this technical occupation, I have been appointed to manage the Ariane 5 program in CNES. So I have been manager of the Ariane 5 for making the exploitation. The launcher was developed, and the question was to have industrialization and exploitation of the launcher, and I have managed all these activities. And in 2008, I have decided to join French Guiana as a deputy director of the launch base French Guiana, approximately 4 years, and I was in charge of safety and security and environmental aspect. And then, so I was director of the launch range for 4 years and a half, so involved in all aspects, operational aspect, social aspect, and political aspect, because there is a long interaction with political people. There is a strong interaction with political people. I had to come back in France because my contract has been finished, and so at the end I joined ESA as head of project of infrastructure to devise about the future of launch infrastructure in Europe. And finally, I come back to CNES as general inspector in charge of internal control in CNES and ethics and conformity.
Let me take you back to Ariane 4. Was everyone on the Ariane 4 team surprised by just how successful it was? Was it a project that you knew was going to be that successful, or did it take everyone by surprise?
Yes, there was a lot of success with Ariane 4. During the development and during the exploitation of Ariane 4, we have had to face too many failures, and we have had learned a lot of things when we have dealt with this failure technically, but also in the project management. And we have improved all our procedure and all our organization with this drawback. And finally, with Ariane 4, we have had a very high performance launcher with very high quality. So it was a very good success.
You moved into Ariane 5, and of course Ariane 5's been extremely reliable. When it came to the Hermes space plane, what was that like, and what was it like to finally have the program cancelled? Was that a shock, or or could everyone see that was coming?
Oh, the program was well mastered, technically speaking. So we have had to learn a lot of things, and we have got a lot of experience in the development of space vehicle for re-entry and so on. But it was a very expensive program. And the program was not compatible with the money available in Europe to develop Ariane 5. And in parallel, there were the development of Columbus and so on. So it was a decision of ministry at the ministry level to cancel the program, to stop the program.
How did that feel? Was everyone a little bit disappointed? Did people feel as though some of the other programs deserved the chop rather than Hermes?
Yes, the people, of course, was very disappointed. But I think that we have got a lot of experience in the management program and in development of new technologies. For instance, we have developed new tiles for thermal protections, and this technology was not available in Europe before the Hermes program. And after, so industry have got this know-how. We have developed also tools to make predictions, aerodynamical prediction, and so on. And all these facilities and tools was used to other programs like IXV, which was a demonstrator of re-entry body, which has been launched later on by Vega successfully. So anyway, even if this program, Hermes program, was stopped, we have got a lot of experience this experience has been profitable for other programs.
What was your involvement with bringing Soyuz to Guyana?
Yes, I have been involved in the Soyuz development when I was in French Guiana, because I was in charge of security aspect and safety. And so during this program, the main difficulty was to reach an agreement with the Russian part in order to manage the safety during the launch of Soyuz. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of exchange with Russian part to develop the process in order to ensure the safety during the launch. Because the safety principle adopted in Russia are very different to the safety principle adopted in Europe. So, there was a fight, I would say a fight of culture between Russian and European part in order to reach an agreement. But anyway, we have succeeded, and we now Soyuz fly without any problem concerning the safety. And we have developed particular equipment for Soyuz in order to allow the flight from the French Guiana. This development brings us technical know-how, sure, but allows to share with Russians the approach for safety to find a final agreement with them through discussions and through, I would say, concession.
So with the Russians involved, obviously, with the Soyuz in French Guiana, was there any time where they were a bit cagey about secrets, and it was always hard to get around certain elements of, basically, I guess, just secrets around their particular space program? What's the sort of main problem there?
Yes, we have had to manage this kind of things. First, there was a security committee about secret. This security committee was a Russian and France committee. There was two kinds of secret. The first coming from Russia, because Russia doesn't want to share the technology, the launcher technology, with the European part. So Russia wants to have a protection of Soyuz, and European part to demonstrate that all the measures taken for protecting the launcher are correct to protect the Russian technology. And secondly, Europe have some requests about the protection of its own technology. We had to discuss about the access of Russian part in the launch in French Guiana. And we should discuss about what kind of access we can allow to the Russian part. That was the main discussion. And it was a long-term discussion. At the end, we have got a very good agreement, and now there is a very high confidence between European part and Russian part, and the people works
fantastic.
Very well
Yeah,
together.
I mean, I was in French Guiana a couple of months ago, or a month and a half ago or so, and the one thing that is noticeable is just how well lots of different nations are able to just work together, including Russia in that list, is quite phenomenal.
Yeah. But for instance, for American people who work in French Guiana, we have a lot of projects coming from United States, and we have had to discuss with United States administration in order to demonstrate that Russian people have no access to U.S. satellites. So they was also very interested about the protection of secrets.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So during your Ariane 5 days, what was the sort of main challenges, and what was the really interesting parts of that program?
There is many things because Ariane 5, Ariane 5 for me starts in 1987, and I work on Ariane 5 up to 2008. So it was a very long period involved in Ariane 5. First, by the development, there was a lot of challenges, technically speaking, because the launcher was a very high-performance launcher with new technologies. And for instance, I was after the first flight, we discovered a lot of unpredicted behavior, and we have had to correct some anomalies. For instance, we have had to modify the control loop with the servo actuators because it was not well adapted at the first flight due to the high loads induced by these actuators into the launcher. I was involved in acoustic problem because Ariane 5 with a high performance was a very noisy launcher, and the main challenge was how to reduce the noise for the satellites, because the satellites are very sensitive to the noise. The main technical problem I had to face. But after the flight, I was involved in the success, but also in failure. And there was a very big failure, which was very dangerous for the future of the program at the time when the failure occurred. For instance, the first flights of the new version, the version which flies presently, the first flight was a failure, and due to the bad dimensioning of the engine. The return to flight program was very, very extensive program with a lot of activities, a lot of phenomena to understand, because it was the engine, very complicated to have a model of working of the engine. We had to develop during 1 year and a half a new model of the engine to understand how the engine works and so on. And we have had a very, very big stuff involving all the team, industry and agencies. So at the time, we have learned to work together very, very closely between industry and agency, and realize that we work as a family, very close together, in order to solve the problem. Anyway, after the solving this problem, there was a problem of quality of Ariane 5 because the launcher issued from the development, but we have had very few launch to challenge the production. And we have discovered a lot of production qualities, non-qualities. It was a very various problem. For instance, the production of the engine chamber, because the first batch of production, half of the batch was bad and can be thrown to the dustbin because there was a crack on the chamber, which was not acceptable. So we have had to solve this kind of problem. We have had a problem of pollution, cleanliness, a lot of things concerning the production. And it takes a long time. The first flight of the new version of Ariane 5, the last version, the Ariane 5 ECA, the launcher which flies presently. The first flight was in 2002, but we can consider that in 2008 the industrialization was okay, and the launcher was a project without a lot of non-qualities.
There's obviously lots of little incremental changes and going back and saying this wasn't quite right, and all the way through Ariane 5's development. So have you been involved with the Ariane 6 project at all? And
I have been involved in some reviews, but not in the development, because so after 2008 I was in the French Guiana, and my job was exploitation, was to launch on time, very often a year, and to manage the launch range. This is a really other problem. The problem, my occupation at the time was to be sure that the safety is okay, the security is okay, the operational system was available to perform the launch on time, and to solve social problem, because we have had a lot of social discussion with the union, and to represent externally the launch range, to represent to the territorial community, for instance, in the Kourou town, in the French Guiana authorities, and so on. So there was a lot of things in terms of representation in the political environment.
This always fascinates me, this element of people's careers where they start off as engineers and eventually sort of work their way up to doing things like sorting out civil unrest in French Guiana. How does that journey actually take place from what seem on the surface very, very different jobs?
My education is an engineer education, but I was not prepared to have the job of the director of the French Guiana launch range, because it's so various activities. I think that for young people, my main advice is first to be interested in technical, because we can be very efficient if we can master the technical aspect of launcher or of the job that they are in charge. But then to be open, to be open, to have an open mind in other aspects, social aspect, societal aspect. Because, for instance, what is very, very important today is to take care about environmental aspect in our job, and how our job can have some impact in societal and environmental aspect. I think it is important, and the people should have an open mind on all these aspects, including juridical aspect.
So I've noticed that you do quite a bit of teaching and outreach. Is that something that you enjoy as well?
I teach in the engineering school a lot of time, very, very often. And I think it is important to forward our experience to young people. It's important for the society, but also for myself too, because when you teach something, you should be clear. You should be clear on the topic you teach. It's very useful for people to teach and to participate to our outreach program. I think it's fundamental. That's why I am always pleased to participate to university problem. I was, for instance, involved in the foundation of French Guiana University, and I have chaired the first academic board, and it was really interesting because I brought my view of manager of the operational site, like French, like the launch range, but also I had to face about problem of research, problem of society, and it was also very useful for me.
Couldn't agree more. Teaching is just a fantastic way of learning yourself and paying it forward. I've only got one more question because I know that you've got to go soon. Where do you see European space transportation going in the next sort of 10, 20 years?
Good question. So, for the European, I think that the situation is really today difficult because we have a lot of competition, and I think that we should be innovative. I think that the innovation is in the reusable launchers, and we should develop this technology very quick, very fast, in order to be able to be in the competition market. So it's clear. Secondly, we should be interested in the exploration, and the space transportation should be involved deeply in the new vehicle in order to develop new capability for exploration, because this development will pull innovation and will give to the industry enough know-how in order to be more competitive in the commercial market. And I think that space transportation for agencies, I speak about ESA or CNES or DLR or ASI, should be concentrated in innovation vehicle, maybe by development of demonstrator in order to develop new capabilities in technologies, new know-how, not only technical know-how, but also in management, in organization, and so on.
I'm assuming in 10 years' time you wouldn't see ESA having a reusable vehicle, but perhaps in 20 years' time that would be on the cards, or could you see it being able to be turned around in such a short time?
I think that it could be shorter because the competition is very hard, and I don't see how we can reduce the cost of launch without reusable. So I think that at least a part of the vehicle could be reusable, let's say within 10 years. But after, we can imagine more ambitious vehicle. For instance, today, the reusability is only for the first stage of the launcher. But in the long term, we can imagine reusability of the complete launcher. And it's more difficult. It's a bigger challenge than the challenge of today. We do not forget that in parallel, we should develop know-how in order to have a low-cost vehicle for exploration. I don't speak about human exploration. I think that robotic exploration is okay. We should have a vehicle able to go to Mars, a vehicle able to make services in orbit like a space tug in order to prepare a powerful vehicle to explore other planet or asteroid in the solar system.
So a kind of in-orbit infrastructure?
Yes. We should have a look on tourism, space tourism too, because it's not important today, but maybe in the future it could be important. There's a lot of initiative on space tourism. Today, it is not fully available or fully completed. So this initiative are in progress, but we should look at this kind of thing, because if one initiative reach one success, this can be developed very rapidly. could drive new technologies. For instance, Elon Musk have this idea in mind, so we should look at, but it's not the priority today.
No. What has been your absolute highlight of your career so far? Is there one day or 1 week or one project that you step back from and go, wow, I really enjoyed that?
I think that Ariane 5 was really the project where I have learned a lot of things. I have had a lot of friends too. So because there was a lot of success, a lot of satisfaction, but there was some very hard failure to overcome, and we have learned a lot of things. I think that this was the main program. Otherwise, I've got a lot of satisfaction to manage the launch range due to the variety of problem, variety of question to deal with. I've got a very wide view of problem of society too. I've learned a lot of things about French Guiana, for instance. It was a very astonishing country. And I think it was a very good experience for guys.
Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. I better let you go off because I know you're just about to have another meeting. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The Interplanetary Podcast is alive!
There we go.
Oh, what a legend.
Complete and utter legend.
We only interview legends.
If you've enjoyed today's or any other episode of the Interplanetary Podcast, please like and subscribe on your favourite podcast place, like iTunes or Stitcher or one of those places, or maybe listen to it on SoundCloud or Spotify or Google Play, wherever you would like to listen to it. And if you'd like to be involved even more, then maybe pop over to interplanetary.org.uk and have a look around there, and you might find a little link to our Patreon page, or you can just go directly to Patreon/interplanetary. Patreon.com/interplanetary, where you can get fully involved with the show and become a patron of the show.
That is what I'm talking about. What he said, people.
And you too can put the ace back into space.
So, Matt, we've been talking about the supermoon just now. Well, actually, it does appear 7% on average bigger than the normal moon in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I do think that's really good. So how much bigger is it than the smallest full moon?
It's between 12 and 14% bigger than the smallest moon.
Okay, so there's a 14%. That's the biggest swing. See, supermoon, you see what I'm saying? It's only 7% bigger than the average moon. And I think because where it is on in terms of its distance to the horizon has much more of an effect in its apparent size than that.
Matt, you wait. I'm going to get 7% bigger and you're going to notice.
If you were 7% bigger, how tall does that make you?
I'd probably be approaching 5'8".
Yeah, I think that's about. I don't think I would notice. I think that's the difference between you in a pair of Vans and you in your Cuban heels.
You'd think I just got a new pair of heels. Yeah.
Do you know? There's a really good story that I've missed. One of our patrons, Jamie, sent this in. I think it's Bob Hodges again.
Oh yeah, love Bob.
He sent in this thing on the BBC. The Black Arrow, so UK's space rocket, returns home from Australia. So the UK's only rocket to successfully launch a satellite into orbit is to be unveiled in Scotland after a 10,000-mile journey back home. The Black Arrow projectile had lain at its crash site in the South Australian outback for 48 years. Yeah,
wow.
This is. So, and yes, and Sky Roarer have been involved in getting what they consider one of the most important British space artifacts there is, if not the most important space artifact. And they're kind of right. So this is the Black Arrow that launched Prospero back in 71 into UK's only orbital launch. And they've managed to get this hulk of metal lying on the floor and bring it back to Scotland.
That is genius. I love that. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, because I don't know how I didn't see that story, but it's huge, isn't it? So thanks, Bob.
It's 7% bigger than we thought. I mean, if we owned a pub, Matt, Bob would be like one of our regular drinkers that, glass behind the bar. We'd ask about how his family are. That's the relationship we've got with our listeners.
Totes.
Take it easy. Have a good weekend. But I will be thinking about the thing I think about most in life, and that's Europa.
Even though I told you last week how unlikely it was that it would have any kind of complex life.
Yeah, but you said the word unlikely. You didn't say impossible. And even if you did, it wouldn't stop me from lying back on my sofa and dreaming about these alien whales, or whalians, as we like to know them.
Whalians. I like
There
it.
we go.
Well, on that
There we
note, let's say goodbye to the Spodcats.
Goodbye, Spodcats.
Bye-bye, Spodcats.